So let's start you off pretty simple with this. So let's talk about marbles. So if I have a bag of marbles, okay, and I tell you that there are 12 total marbles in there, but there are two different color marbles. There are some gold and there are some blue. Oh, those two colors go so nicely together, don't they? So there are 7 gold and there are some blue, but I don't know how many. But I do know that together there are 12 total. Like, this is pretty simple, but I'm walking you through this process. So right off the bat, I know that you can tell me how many blue marbles there are. There are how many blue marbles? 5, right? What operation did you use to figure out that there were 5? What did you do with those numbers? You subtracted. So let's think about this. If you subtracted to get the answer, then that should be a big hint as to what kind of an equation it is, right? So if you use inverse operations and you subtracted to get the answer, what kind of an equation should this be when you write it? An addition. So we're going to talk about something called a verbal model. And a verbal model is going to help you write your equation if you're confused about it. Okay, sometimes the verbal model can confuse you, but I'm just going to just show it to you and you can decide. So do you agree that I would take the number of gold marbles and add it to the number of blue marbles, and that would give me my total number of marbles? Does that verbal model make sense to you? So if I told you there's 12, we know how many gold plus blue should equal total. So verbal model kind of then helps you to fill in your equation. So what's the number of gold? 7. What's the number of blue marbles? We don't know. I know, and here's the tricky part. I know you know it's 5, right? But you can't write it right here because you don't know it yet. An equation includes a variable that you solve for. So right now, I don't know how many blue there are, so I use B. And another hint to you is going to be always in word problems, use the letter that stands for what it is you're looking for. Okay, you're looking for blue, so let's use B. And there's your equation, right? So I had you get a different color out because the question that you're looking for, how many blue marbles? So the question that's going to answer always kind of leads you back to that. And then you know how to solve it from here using the correct steps. So that proves that there are 5 blue marbles. Good? Okay? All right. Next example, because that was just a regular old little one-step equation, right? Nothing fancy about it. There's no parentheses. There's no distributing. Word problems, we're sticking to 1 and 2 steps. We're not getting crazy like that. Other ones that you just took your check for understanding on. Okay, so I would like to make some necklaces for my friends. Okay? And I have some pretty cool beads. I went to the bead store. So we're going to make some beaded necklaces. I have 60 beads. And I want to give them to my favorite 6 friends. And then I'm going to stop there and then I'm going to pick up my blue pencil because we're going to write the question in blue today. What question am I about to ask you? Or what question do you have, Allison? Yeah. So if I have a total of 60 beads, but I want to give them to 6 friends, obviously I'm keeping the numbers real simple just because we're focusing on the construction of the problems here. How many beads can I put in each necklace? And have everybody have the same fair amount, right? So how many beads can go in each necklace? Okay, so our verbal model is going to look a little different this time because how many of you know right off the top of your head, like you knew the answer before I even asked you the question probably. How many beads can go in each necklace, Ben? 10, right? And what operation did you use to figure that out? Division, right? Didn't you just divide 60 by 6? So if you're using division to solve the equation, it must be what type of an equation? Multiplication equation. And we know multiplication equations look like this, right? 4x equals 12. So our verbal model is going to look like this. You're going to take the number of friends that you want to give them to and multiply those number of friends by the number of beads that you can put in each necklace. And when you multiply those two together, it has to equal the total number of beads that you have. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough necklaces. You're not going to have enough beads. So this part right here is really where all the thinking takes place. If you are able to get to the equation without the verbal model, good for you. I am not requiring you to show that right now. It's just a thought process. Okay, so we're going to do this here. The number of friends that you have, by the way, what variable am I looking for? How many beads can go in a necklace? So I'm going to use B. So do I know the number of friends? Yeah, 6. Times. How many beads can go in each necklace? I don't know. That's the question that they just asked me. So I'm going to use B. But I do know that I have 60 beads. And then the final part of this is, since when do we write 6 times B like that? We don't. We write it how? 6B. Yeah, I know. This or this?
The 6B equals 6.
Yeah. And I should have used something besides B. I could have used, I don't know what else goes on necklaces. So. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so now that you have that, you know that you need to divide by 6, and you get the answer that you knew it was, but this mathematically proves it with an equation. Okay? So those are the kind of one-step word problems that you're going to have. I'm only giving you one step: addition and multiplication. Okay? For today. So now let's move on to see what our two-step word problems will look like. Because you know what a two-step equation looks like, right? So this shirt that I have on right now, last year when I had them made, I called Monroe Varsity Sports and they said it's $40 for the artwork. You have to pay $40 just for us to draw up a design and get that artwork on the press. So when you get your T-shirts made, it was $40, one-time fee. You're going to hear that a lot. One-time fee means I'm only paying that once for the artwork to draw up the design. But then after that, it's $10 per T-shirt. Okay? I'm not done yet because I still need a pretty important part of this equation. I collect a total of $260. What question goes with this story right here? Yep. How many T-shirts can I order with this? Okay. Okay. Verbal model for the two-step ones gets a little trickier here, but let's just think about this. So I'm going to think about the order that you pay in maybe. So your one-time fee is added to. Okay, and this one kind of is like, you can't really say, well, I guess you could. You know what? I have 7th graders who do this on their bell work, and they can tell me the answer. And they even can tell me that, you know what, Mrs. Z, first thing you should do is what? Subtract 40 from the 260, right? Because you have to pay that. And then they get to 220. And then they know that if each shirt is 10 and there's 220, that you divide. So you subtract and divide. So what should your operations in your equation be? add, and multiply, right? So there's my add, and the next one should be multiply. So here's what I'm going to multiply, and I want to put it in parentheses. I'm going to multiply the number of shirts that you can buy times what? The cost for one shirt. And then that should all equal the total amount that was collected. So we have our verbal model. My one-time fee is $40. I'm going to add that to the number of shirts that I can buy, which is what I don't know because that's what's in blue. So I'm going to say S for shirts. Sometimes S's look like 5s. So whenever you use a variable that looks like a letter, you just make it cursive. So I probably should have done that with the B. So we're going to say S times the cost for one shirt is 10. But I don't really write it S times 10. We already talked about that. You're going to write it 10S. And that has to equal the total that you have collected, right? So does that verbal model make sense? Okay. So there's you subtracting your 40, which is what my 7th graders told me to do. It's like they can walk through it in their mind. They haven't had enough experience yet with equations to be able to write the equation part of it. So that's going to leave me with 10S equals 220. And then, just like they told me, divide by 10. And S is equal to 22. S is how many shirts I can order. I can order 22 shirts. How do you check yourself? You put 22 back in for S. Multiply it by 10, then add 40. Instead of subtract 40 and divide. Got it? Not too bad. All right. Anybody ever do Relay for Life here in Riverview? Okay. We're all wearing pink today. Okay. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So when you go to the Relay for Life, you have a goal, right? So you have a goal of number of miles that you want to walk. So let's say your goal was to walk 12 miles. Okay? Just you. I mean, you have team goals, but you have individual goals too. So your goal is to walk 12 miles. So far, you walked, say, 7.5. Got to keep you on your toes with these decimals. So far you've walked 7.5. What question am I about to ask? This is your goal. Go ahead, Avery. Yeah. How many more miles until you meet your goal? Okay, and actually what you're going to see is going to say, because technically the way it's written right now, all you have to do is give an answer, right? And you can come up with that answer in a matter of seconds in your head, right? So what your worksheet is going to say is, write and solve an equation to show how many more miles you need to walk. I was very careful about how I worded it. So write and solve an equation. So we're going to take the number of miles that you already walked. Okay? So first of all, by the way, what operation did you use to get your answer? Subtraction. So that means it must be what kind of an equation? Addition. And what am I adding? The miles that you already walked to, yes, the number of miles that you still need to walk. And when I add those two amounts together, it should equal my goal, right? There's your verbal model. If you like the verbal model, use it. If you're able to come up with an equation without having to write that, that's totally okay. So I already walked 7.5. I still need to walk this many more, which I don't know. And together, that's my goal. Okay? So, what do? Subtract 7.5. And how many more miles do I need to walk? Be careful. That 0.5 always tricks people. Yeah. 4.5. I had to do it in my head. So 4.5. Okay? Easy? All right, I got one more problem for you to do. So let's say the Pirate Buck store. So the Pirate Pride store is open for business. And there are a lot of items you can get in there, right? You go and you spend a total of, you wipe out your whole wallet. You spend all 25 Pirate Bucks that you have. And what you walked away with is a hoodie. They have hoodies in there. I think they're more than this, but. So you spent 15 Pirate Bucks on a hoodie. And you also got 2 of those foam footballs. Do they have those? Okay. They have some type of stuff there. This question might not be as obvious. What's missing? What don't you know? Yeah. How many Pirate Bucks were each football? So, write and solve an equation to figure out how many Pirate Bucks each football was. Okay. Now, how can you tell if it's a 2-step or a 1-step? What should you do first? I want you to use your common sense first. I want you to say, well, looks like I'm going to have to subtract the 15 from the 25 because I only bought one hoodie. And then I'm going to have to divide that by, so it's like a 2-step one, right? So it's going to be a multiplication and addition. So I'm going to take the 15. Actually, let's do our verbal model first. So you have the cost of the hoodie. And to that, you're going to add what? The cost of the football times the number of footballs that you bought, right? And that should equal the total number of Pirate Bucks that you spent. So the cost of the hoodie was 15. And you can do this part in your head. If the cost of the football, we're going to say we're looking for the F, so let's use F. And then the number, so let's say 2F. And I spent 25. So first I subtract the amount of the hoodie because I know that was a one-time fee. 2F should equal 10. And then divide that 10 Pirate Bucks left by 2, and you get 5 Pirate Bucks for one football. Okay? Make sense? Word problems? Okay. So